sometimes when you start, you lose sight of some things because you get too busy doing other things.
I think the biggest thing when it comes to Black entrepreneurship, we are so scared to pivot.
It affected my mental health because I was always working.
How you guys doing? I want to welcome you to the Content Aesthetic Show, where we take different med spa owners, different aesthetic professionals, and allow them to share their stories so they can help you keep thriving and making a difference in your business and your community. And on today's episode, we have Benita Morgan. How are you?
I'm doing amazing. How are you?
I'm blessed. I cannot complain. And so, number one thing, I want to know what it is that you do to make a difference in your community.
I do my best to give back to the community. I started a clinical lab, and it's important to me to take care of our truck drivers to make sure they stay compliant with the Department of Transportation.
I love that. What made you I want to focus on truck drivers, out of everybody?
Well, I had the opportunity to start a drug screening lab, and I said, who do I want to focus on? And I said, my people. I want to focus on truck drivers to make sure that they understand the importance of compliance and all the components of compliance.
I love that. And so what were you doing before you got into the aesthetic world?
I currently am a professor, and I had a construction company. I did Airbnbs, and I was in corporate America, and I am a corporate trainer.
I love that. So you had a little bit of everything.
I did.
So what was that transformation like for you to be well, let me start my own business. Let me go in and do drug screening, weight loss, aesthetics. What was that like for you mentally?
It's definitely a transition because I do my best to make sure I understand the industry that I'm getting into. And so I transitioned because I was working with a lot of hospitals, working with a lot of doctors, and I saw how easy their offices were ran. And then I saw things that I felt like I could improve in their offices. So I said, why not start my own?
I love it. And where are you originally from?
I'm originally from Baltimore.
So you are able to help your community right now. How is that for you? More heartfelt?
Well, I give back to the community 2 to 3 times a year.
Yes.
So even though I do a lot of drug testing, weight loss, I make sure that I do fall festivals.
Yeah.
I just did a back to school event. So we gave over 200 book bags to the community, to parents, and everything is free. And sometimes we do holiday events just to make sure that people know that just because you're a business owner, there's still opportunity to make sure you're taking care of your own.
I love that. Growing up in Baltimore, did you see a lot of entrepreneurship? Was anybody in your family, your mother, father, was they entrepreneurs?
Entrepreneurs were pretty much everywhere. Yeah. My dad was an entrepreneur. He had a McDonald's. He moved to North Carolina. They created a Wendy's for him. Well, built a Wendy's for him. So I was always around free thinking people. My sister also had a edible arrangements. So my aunt's a judge. And so I just see Black excellence everywhere.
That's big. And that's a lot different. You don't hear that, especially coming from Baltimore, the inner city. You hear everything else, but to grow up with parents that was entrepreneurs or political cousins and relatives, how did that help your drive?
It gave me the tenacity to make sure that even when I'm going through hardship, to make sure that I just keep pushing, even though it may seem bleak, to keep pushing, because all things are not going to stay the same. In 365 days, you will not be in the same place. So just seeing the things that they went through and seeing where they had to get new employees, seeing where all the different things they had to do with sales and marketing. My dad was a sales genius with Xerox. And I just saw all the things that he did. And I was like, you know what? I want to be like that.
So when it comes to sales, how are you with sales?
Well, I'm not the best salesperson, but I am now. I've learned the key to sales is really helping people to understand who you are. And then once they learn to love you, once they learn your products, then they really want to buy from you because they feel like you're one of them.
How long did it take you in your business to learn that?
It took me a good 3 years to understand it. I went into it just thinking, all right, I can do this and I'm selling this and I'm selling that. And I kept trying to sell services rather than selling myself. But as soon as the light switch came on and I learned how to just be myself, then that's when things started to change.
I love that. And when you started your drug screening company, your aesthetic company, How was that for you? Like, was that an easy transition? Finding location, investing? How did you start?
God really, he really did the pivot for me, because when I wanted to do drug testing, that's when COVID hit. And I was trying to figure out one of my truck drivers said, "Do you have COVID test?" And I said, "No, we don't have COVID tests." So I started looking it up, and God literally led the way. And so I bought a bunch of COVID tests, and because I'm certified to do so, and I started drug testing out of my trunk. I started going to supermarkets, to Walmart, and learning from Candace Holyfield. She said, "Get a text list." And so when I did that, I was able to communicate with my community in Greensboro, North Carolina, and people they showed up. And I was one of the first ones. I was on the news where they were videoing how we did COVID testing, where people did drive-up testing. So
that's
through
big.
that, I just learned the needs of them. So I stopped doing only truck drivers, and I expanded to non-DOT. So the rest is history.
I love that. And at that time, that sounded kind of like back in the days when they was selling CDs out the trunk. You took it back to the Master P days.
I did. That's where I'm from, because in Baltimore, whether you're a drug dealer, whether you're a school student, you learn to hustle. So just being around that environment, I took the good things from it. And I said, I've got to do this any way I can. So I built a team of 5 people, and we were drug testing out of our cars.
I love that. And so I know you had a situation where you almost wanted to give up on your business. Why was that?
My overhead was high. And sometimes when you start, you lose sight of some things because you get too busy doing other things. So I had to get a grasp of it all. And then once I did, I just had to refocus and pivot. And once I did that, the rest is history.
Oh, I love that. And so what caused your overhead to go overhead?
Doing a lot in the community, taking on things that may be good services. So when you start a business, you say, I'm going to do 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. But then a lot of times you get good at the things that are important to your clients and your patients. So I realized that some services I didn't need. I didn't need to keep pushing some things. And when I refocused on what was important, that's when things began to grow. I added medical weight loss, and I added DOT physicals in my office instead of outsourcing everything. That was a big source of a lot of my bills because I outsourced some of the higher ticket items. When I learned to keep that in-house, that's when the money started rolling in.
I love that. And the reason why is because it's a lot of other aesthetic professionals, and what they do is they don't know how to let go. And so they think, oh, I got to promote every service. No, I can't let this go. I bought this device, so I got to do this. So it was really hard for you to actually pivot and let some stuff go. Like,
it definitely was, because I was thinking, well, this is where the money is, because I accept insurance. Some drug testing locations don't accept insurance. And so I said, well, I can make this with insurance. I can do this and that. But I was really spreading myself too thin.
And did that affect like your mental household wise as well?
Oh, yes. It affected my mental health because I was always working, always in work mode, because my mind was always going, because again, those services that I was offering, people weren't buying. So I was always trying to figure out, well, what could I do? What content can I put out? But then I had to change my mindset and say, let's refocus on me. So I no longer see patients on Wednesdays, and every Saturday is, most Saturdays are my self-care Saturdays, because I have to put a reset within myself. Otherwise, what good am I going to be to everyone else?
Yeah, that's big. So what was that moment when you was like, I'm going to give it one more shot. I'm not going to give up right now. Like, what was that? Talk to me.
I prayed about it. And God started putting a lot of signs in my face. I walked into one location and I was looking for services from them, and it hit me. What are they doing anyway? What are they doing in here? And my location looks so much better than this, and this place is packed. I wanted to know, what were they doing so I could do it too? And when I started to focus on that, adding that particular service, that's when things got better for me. And I had to train my mind to say, I'm going to focus on this one thing. I'm going to make this amazing. And then I'm going to make people want it because I wanted it myself. So I could speak directly from experience.
I love that. If you can say one thing to maybe a fellow aesthetic professional that's on the verge of giving up, I want you to look in this camera and I want you to say something to encourage them to keep going.
If you're thinking about giving up, you really need to pray, because God has a plan for you. And so you need to talk to him and figure out what that specific plan is and change your mindset. Because if your mind every day is saying, I'm going to fail, then that's exactly what you'll do. You're going to fail because your tongue is powerful. So you need to speak life into yourself and speak life into your business.
I love that.
Thank you.
I love that. And so when it comes to business, how were you able to use content to impact your business?
People need to see who you are. People need to see what you do. And then once they see, then you get them to subscribe to your text list, subscribe to your emails so that you can talk to them offline.
Yeah.
That's the key, to kind of reel them in, to give them an experience and let them into your atmosphere so that you can talk to them. You can be creative with them. But content is very important because they want to get to know who you are to make sure that they can relate to you.
How was that process for you creating content?
It can be a stumbling block in the past, but now it's better because I realized that just recording everyday content, looking at my office, recording things in my office so they can place themselves where I am. Like, look, you can walk in. It's beautiful. It smells good. You know, you're going to get some good aesthetics when you walk in. So just making sure that they can relate to what I'm doing.
I love that. If you was to put light on one of your superpowers, what would it be and why?
Resilience. Definitely resilience. Because no matter what I've been through, no matter what I've done, I've always bounced back. And I'm going to continue to bounce back because I'm not going anywhere.
I love that. I want to thank you, for making a difference in your community, for showing up and showing out, for not being scared to pivot. I think the biggest thing when it comes to Black entrepreneurship, we are so scared to pivot. We think people are going to down us. Mm-hmm. We think people are going to judge us because we think they think that we fail, but really we just pivot and went into a lane that was better for us. So I just want to commend you for that because that is big, because you could have easily gave up, but you didn't. You're still fighting. And when finances get hard, that means go out and sell more.
Yeah.
When finances get hard, that means go get more visibility. Mm-hmm. Or when it get hard, that means go back to all them leads that was in your books and personally call them. See what stopped them from coming in. See what they need today. And do not allow the business itself to fail due to money.
That is so correct. I love that. And thank you so much because that is exactly what they all need to do. Yeah. It's so important. It's so important to business.
Yes, I love it. I want to thank you for tuning in to the Content Aesthetic Show. And the biggest thing I want you to take away with today's episode is pivot. Do not be inside of your own head and get scared because times are getting hard, because it's going to be a storm at every level. So I don't care what level you at, if your business up today or if it's down today, stay going. The biggest thing is be emotionally detached from your business. So what that means is let the business go and move, because if you're emotionally attached to it, when it's up, you all excited. And when it's down, you're depressed. And anybody that's in a depressed state of mind will not be able to move clearly. So do not allow that to be you. Use this episode to help you keep going. I'm Dontel Antonio, and this is the Content Aesthetic Show.